Who's the New Orleans Saints target in the 2025 NFL Draft? Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially mock draft season. It is officially hypothetical season, what-if season, as some say. So we're going to talk about the draft and the Saints' position and possibly where they may target or what position they may target. The draft is an interesting time because you're going to hear a lot of people throw a lot of hypotheticals out there that can't happen. All right, you're going to see a lot of thumbnails with Travis Hunter in it. You're going to see a lot of thumbnails with Shedeur Sanders. You're going to see a lot of thumbnails with Cam Ward. Should alert icon, alert emoji, fire emoji, should the Saints draft Travis Hunter? Yes, the Saints aren't going to get an opportunity to draft Travis Hunter. All right, so it's important to think about the position the Saints are in the draft and also what position of need they may target first, what they might prioritize first, okay? Ashton Jeanty is a perfect example. Ashton Jeanty is sweet. Ashton Jeanty is awesome. Will the Saints be targeting him 9th overall? No, they will not be, okay? He is cool, but the Saints aren't going to draft a backup running back. The Saints aren't going to draft a 4th-round quarterback 9th overall. There's also players like Tyler Warren. So Tyler Warren is an interesting player from Penn State. He is a absolute monster tight end. Let's see where they have him. So, by the way, where's Warren? I'm not even seeing Warren on here. Might have gone past him. But Warren is a player who, for a while there, Warren's grade was like 17th overall, something like that. So obviously the Saints aren't going to take him 9th overall if he has a 17th round or 17th pick grade, even though they could use him. It's kind of a no man's land situation. I also, when we talk mock draft season, I personally don't like to talk trades because it's so hard to predict a trade, right? So that's usually problematic as well. Now, this website is walterfootball.com. It has been the most accurate mock draft site in the world for like 3 or 4 years. Okay, they usually are pretty close. So if you're still going to ESPN.com or FoxSports.com or JoyTaylor.com or wherever you're going, throw WalterFootball.com in there as one of the sites that you use for mock drafts. So let's go ahead and look at who they have around the Saints, who they have going to the Saints, and just where they have the first round kind of shaking out. So right now, Tennessee is the number 1 overall pick. Well, they are the number 1 overall pick, and right now they have them projected to take Shedeur Sanders. Interestingly enough, as of today, Cam Ward actually has better odds to go first overall than Shedeur. I have a sneaky feeling when it's all said and done, Shedeur will be the guy, will be the first overall pick. Interesting, though, that I've heard that not everyone has a first-round grade on Shedeur. Not first overall grade, first round grade, okay? So the thought of taking a quarterback first overall that might not even be a first-round level player, scary beans, okay? Ward goes 2nd to Cleveland in this. Travis Hunter 3rd to the Giants. Will Campbell to the Patriots. Will Johnson to the Jags. To McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, to the Raiders. Michael Williams from Georgia to the Jets. Abdul Carter to the Panthers. Abdul Carter is someone who the Saints have been linked to. This has Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback out of Notre Dame, going to the Saints. And then Mason Graham going to the Bears, 10th overall. And you can see Dallas and Jeanty, Kelvin Banks to the Dolphins, Kenneth Grant to the Colts, Mike Green to the Falcons, James Pierce to the Cardinals, and then we'll look through the rest too. If it was me, the guy right now we're way early here. Mason Graham would be my pick. I think Mason Graham would be a home run for the Saints. Absolute home run. The Saints probably more than anything. Now, the Saints do need everything, okay? They need it all. All right, let's eliminate quarterback because quarterbacks aren't an option. You're not going to get one of the top guys, and you're not going to reach on, whoever. So, eliminate quarterback, eliminate running back. Beyond that, you're pretty much open to taking everything. you're pretty much, and I guess tackle, but even tackle, it's like, well, I'll plug in whoever at right tackle and move Penning to guard or however you want to do it. Like, there's even an argument for that, okay? So, but one of the most, maybe the most needed needs for the Saints, is an insane sentence, is a run stopper on the interior defensive line. Brian Brzee, I play better run defense than Brian Brzee, okay? The Saints were 32nd against the run. The Saints were disgusting against the run. It was one of the worst parts of the bad season. Out of everything that went wrong for this season, I would say the thing that went the most wrong was the Saints' running defense. I mean, Sean Tucker had 120 yards. Amir Abdullah had 115 yards. The Saints were giving up 100-yard games for fun. The Packers almost had multiple 100-yard rushers against the Saints, okay? Everyone was rushing at will against the New Orleans Saints. That has to change. And Mason Graham, a young, absolute monster in the middle, is what the Saints need. To me, not in Michigan, so he's playing incredibly high-level football. This isn't a defensive tackle from Wyoming. This isn't a northern Illinois project or a Middle Eastern Maryland State. This is Michigan. This is big boy football. This is where interior line wins, defensive and offensive. This is well coached. This is a guy who can plug in and be a run stopper and a foundational point for the next era of the New Orleans Saints, especially on the defense. When the Saints defense was at its best, what were they it was impossible to run against them. That's when they were at their absolute best. When you cannot be run on, it forces the offense to get out of their own rhythm. They can't create a tempo, and then all of a sudden you can start playing man on the outside and blitzing, and we all know how that looks. So if the Saints want to rebuild this secondary, I would do it with the defensive line. I would do it with Mason Graham. He is who I really, really hope they pick. Now, another guy that has been mocked to the Saints previously is Abdul Carter. Now, I think Abdul Carter is going to continue to skyrocket. I think he'll probably end up being taken closer to 5 than 10. Carter, I mean, it's already happening. And the more Penn State plays in the college football playoffs and all that, I know Carter's been dealing with an injury, but I think he is... I don't think there's any way he slips to 9 or 8 or 7. I think eventually he'll be mocked somewhere up here. Now, the next question is offensive line. Okay. Now, offensive line is difficult because defense is pretty much always the same. Like, no matter who the coordinator is, I understand, like, some people prefer a base 3-4, base 4-3. We all know that, but defense is pretty much like Mason Graham is going to play. I don't care who the coordinator is. He's cool. He's cool beans. That'll work. All right. Abdul Carter. I don't care who the coordinator is. He will play. Monster off the edge, monster pass rusher. That'll play. What is harder to distinguish is what the Saints will be looking for offensively. So right now, Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator. We know what that entails, right? We know that entails the wide zone run scheme. We know that entails 2 back, 2 tight end heavy sets. We know that entails 2 wide receivers most of the time. We know that entails play action. We know that we get that, right? So when you're forecasting an offensive lineman, you need to forecast an offensive lineman who can play in that system. Now, Will Campbell is probably, I would say, the best offensive lineman in the draft. So you may be quick to say, well, the Saints need Will Campbell, right? They need an offensive lineman. He's the best offensive lineman. 1 + 1 = 2. Well, sometimes 1 + 1 = 3. And that's the situation that we're in right now, where you got to you can't look like Talise Fuaga is a perfect example. Is Talise Fuaga, was he the best offensive lineman in the draft? Probably not. Was he the best scheme fit for what the Saints want to do and what Clint Kubiak does? Yes. Thus, boom, you take Talise Fuaga, okay? So be thinking about that. Word on the street is that Will Campbell doesn't fit what the Saints want to do. And so then you would drop it down. Now, the Texas, let's see. Okay, this cat right here. All right, Jonah, from the Jonah Savanea, quick blocker plus athleticism. This is starting to sound a whole lot like Talise Fuaga. All right, so he's the guy who potentially may fit what the Saints want to do more. But then you also had to ask yourself the Rubik's Cube of, what are you willing to move Penning to guard? Are you wanting to draft a guard? What are you going to do there? All right, Kelvin Banks is another guy who, who I've seen mocked again. I don't know if Kelvin Banks, because I don't know if Kelvin Banks is the lineman that the Saints are looking for to do that, but I have seen him mocked to the Saints as well. Let's see other linemen they have up here. So that's all the offensive linemen they have in the top 16. Same thing with wide receivers. Same thing with any offensive player. When you have a scheme as specific as the Saints have, you definitely want to make sure that they obviously fit that scheme. You can't just say best offensive lineman or best edge rusher or best guard or whatever. Let's go through the rest of the first round here. Trey Amos to the Bengals. Nick Scourton to the Seahawks. Tyler Booker to the Texans. Iman Wari to the Broncos. Jelon Walker to the Bucks. Tyleik Williams to the Steelers. Luther Burden. So Luther Burden is falling fast. I saw Luther Burden mocked to the Saints at 9, and now he's all the way to the 23rd. Jordan Birch to the Packers. Norman Lott to the Chargers. Isaiah Bond to the Commanders. Tricked me there, Walter. Braden Swinson to the Ravens. Malachi Starks to the Vikings. Patrick Payton to the Bills. Harold Perkins, but Perkins is going back to LSU, correct? Emory Jones. All right, so Emory Jones is someone who Emory Jones is someone who I heard on day 2 may be worth a look for the Saints, because he is a tackle at LSU, but he's an athlete who will more than likely switch to guard, or could switch to guard in the NFL. And if that's the case, that sounds perfect for the Saints of what they want to do. Now, it looks like he's 31st, so it looks like the days of him falling to the second round are not a thing. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's currently your entire first round mocked by Walter right there. So they don't even have Tyler Warren in the first round anymore. Where do they have Tyler Warren? Let's see. It's crazy how fast draft grades and all that move around. Igbuka, I heard his name with the Saints too. He'd be a great guy on day 2. You get a wide receiver like this on day 2. Woo! I would much rather him on day 2 than Luther Burden at 9 overall. Quinn Ewers, LOL, that's not going to happen. I think Ewers plays college again. I mean, $6 million to play in college. You didn't have that. I mean, you've already fallen pretty deep out of where your draft stock was. I would play in college again. I would transfer and play in college. Then the Saints at 40, they have Ernest Green, an offensive tackle from Georgia. Let's see here. Green is a massive right tackle and a powerful run blocker. Sounds like Trevor Penning. Nick Anderson, I'm really just looking for Warren. Do they not mock him because does he have to declare or something? What's going on here? Are they just waiting? Oh, there he is, Tyler Warren, 63. Damn. I mean, I've seen some really high grades on Tyler Warren. I've seen him as high as 15, 13, somewhere in there. 63 seems really low, but maybe, I don't know. Like I said, this is the most accurate. Site, so they would know more than I do. But you would think if Warren falls, granted, 63 and 40 is a big difference, but you would think he'd be worth a look. But if the Saints come out of the first 2 picks with Graham 9 overall and Igbuka at 40, oh my God! You talk about rocking and rolling. That is rocking and rolling right there. That would be. You get Igbuka, whew. Imagine that. You talk about fill some holes real quick. Just going with Graham on the interior defensive line, Olave is your 1. Igbuka is your 2. Damn. That would be really, really nice. That'd be really nice. Let's see if we can keep going here. See if they have the Saints going with in the 3rd. Let's see here. Any other big names? Where's the boys? Now this is a Saints pick right here. A Syracuse defensive end. Saints struggle to get to the quarterback, so they can spend the first or second day pick on an edge rusher. Diggs was somewhat productive at A&M. He has lots of upside going to Syracuse. Interesting. I'm not familiar with his game. So I'd have to take a look. Would have to take a look there. Riley Leonard, all of a sudden, moves up to the 3rd round. I don't know about that one. But yeah, it's that time of the year, ladies and gentlemen. It's that time of the year. And then, boom, another 3rd round pick, 90th overall. Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon. Saints could spend multiple picks on cornerbacks to replace Lattimore. It's going to be an interesting offseason, for sure. It's going to be an interesting offseason. The cornerback that they have us mocked to, I just don't see that happening. I mean, I feel like they would have to it would have to be an absolute like Sauce Gardner level lockdown corner for the Saints to take 9 overall when they need someone as bad as they need Mason Graham. If Graham is gone and it's between, Morrison, if you have a super high grade on him, and Kenneth Grant or somebody, okay, but I find that it would be impossible for the Saints to pass up on Graham for a cornerback, especially depending on how they feel inside the building with Kool-Aid and Alante. And then, of course, if, how you're feeling about the rest of the room. But we're going to be covering the mocks a lot. We're going to be talking about the drafts a lot, looking at certain players a lot. So let's see, this was updated, what was this, January 1st it was updated? 2 days ago, this was released. So these update all the time. These are super fluid. I think they utilize like interviews and what they're hearing and all of that. So, but yeah, we'll be covering the mock, obviously, a ton. So let me know in the comments below who you want the Saints to pick and what position they should go after. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.